In a shocking turn of events, the truth behind Frank Fritz's death has finally come to light. In this exclusive video, Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe break their silence for the very first time and reveal a hidden story that may completely shatter what you thought you knew about American pickers. The legacy of Frank's life, his sudden disappearance, and the disturbing aftermath will now be seen in a whole new light. What really happened behind those locked doors? What secrets have Rick and Mike been hiding for years? Are you ready to confront a truth that has never been told? Watch until the very end. And as you watch, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think Rick and Mike are about to reveal? Because this morning, breaking news has sent shockwaves through America and rocked the global reality TV community. Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe, beloved stars of Pawn Stars and American Pickers, have officially confessed in court to being directly involved in the mysterious death of Frank Fritz. Frank, their former colleague and close friend who had stood beside them through many on-screen victories, is now the victim in a case that has left the public reeling. Initial reports reveal that both Rick and Mike were not only present at the scene the night Frank went missing, but were also deeply involved in the chain of events leading up to the tragedy. Was this merely the result of a sudden conflict, or is it the outcome of a cold, calculated conspiracy? Let's uncover the truth. It's undeniable that Rick Harrison, Mike Wolfe, and Frank Fritz once symbolized a nostalgic America, where forgotten items held priceless value, each one carrying a story that time could never erase. Under Rick Harrison's leadership in Pawn Stars, and with Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz driving American Pickers, they became some of the most beloved reality TV stars on the History Channel, averaging over 4 million viewers per episode from 2012 to 2016. But rapid success brought change. Rick and Mike embraced the business world, expanding their empire aggressively, while Frank, with his quiet life and artistic nature, began to feel left behind. By season 7, the cracks in their bond became visible. Frank resisted the idea of commercializing his image, while Rick and Mike pushed forward with branding, franchising, and online sales. Frank was excluded from internal meetings and left out of key decisions. The warm camaraderie that once united them faded. According to one crew member, there were days when Frank sat alone in his car during lunch, forgotten, overlooked. What started as a brotherhood built on shared passion slowly turned into cold silence, marked only by contracts and legal teams. No one invited him. No one checked on him. That isolation quietly seeped into both the backstage atmosphere and the on-screen dynamic. Observant viewers began to notice that Frank's appearances had become fewer and farther between. By 2020, he had nearly vanished from the show entirely. While the History Channel claimed his absence was due to personal health issues, the truth behind the scenes was far more complicated. Beneath that carefully crafted narrative was a painful reality. Frank had been isolated, pushed aside by those who once called him a brother. In a 2021 interview, Frank bitterly admitted, "I wasn't called back. I wasn't asked for my opinion. I'm no longer part of that family." A simple confession, yet it carried the heavy weight of betrayal. From someone who had once seen his colleagues as family, only to be discarded when he no longer fit the brand's evolving strategy. Their falling out wasn't born of a single moment. It was the slow accumulation of greed, self-interest, and cold, calculated choices made over the course of many years. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll continue uncovering the stories others try to keep buried. Rick Harrison and Mike Wolf sought to build an empire. Frank Fritz, on the other hand, simply wanted to preserve the soul of the stories they once pursued together. When their core values no longer aligned, the tragedy became inevitable. When Frank Fritz quietly vanished from the screen in early 2020, the History Channel offered only a brief explanation. Frank was recovering from major back surgery and needed time to focus on his health. No photos were shared. No press conferences were held. For the loyal fans of American Pickers, the silence felt like the curtain falling on a familiar stage, leaving behind a storm of unanswered questions. At first, the public sympathized, believing Frank needed time to heal. But as the months dragged into a full year without any updates, empathy slowly turned into suspicion. How could a national TV personality vanish completely without leaving a trace? Fans began to realize that Frank wasn't just missing from television. He had also gone completely silent on social media. Frank's personal Facebook and Instagram, once filled with treasure-hunting stories, suddenly fell silent. Even longtime friends couldn't reach him. A close friend told TMZ, "We texted, called, left voicemails for months with no response. That's just not like Frank." Sources revealed that before his disappearance, Frank often said he felt watched and threatened. He regularly changed phone numbers, avoided his personal email, and refused to meet anyone outside a trusted circle of close friends. One insider claimed Frank even hired a private investigator to check if his phone was being tapped. He also shared that he possessed sensitive financial evidence tied to suspicious cash dealings between Rick, Mike, and several third parties. Frank stored the documents across multiple hard drives and safes to avoid tampering or theft. He wasn't just preparing for a lawsuit, he was searching for a media outlet willing to expose the truth. A meeting with an investigative journalist was scheduled for July 14, 2022, at a small cafe in Iowa where Frank lived. However, Frank never showed up for the meeting. About 24 hours later, neighbors started noticing strange signs. His mailbox was overflowing, the lights stayed on all night, and his dog barked endlessly without pause. A concerned friend called the police. When officers broke into the house, they found dinner left uneaten on the table, a phone tossed on the couch, and most importantly, no sign of Frank. The initial police report found no clear evidence of forced entry or struggle. But small details, unfamiliar footprints on the doormat, scratches on the wooden floor, and a missing external hard drive, led investigators to label it a suspicious disappearance. Nearly a year went by, yet the media paid little attention. There was no massive search campaign, no public plea from former colleagues, just family and a few loyal friends chasing shadows. They even offered a $10,000 reward for any lead, a significant amount for an average family. It wasn't until early 2024, when a courtroom video leaked showing Rick Harrison and Mike Wolf on trial, that America was finally shaken by the grim truth behind Frank's disappearance. In the leaked video, Rick chokes up as he confesses, "We didn't save him. We let him die." That admission broke the hearts of fans who once adored the TV trio and triggered the largest legal investigation in American reality television history. A chilling question emerged. Was Frank Fritz a casualty of a tragic mistake, or was he the target of a calculated plot to silence him forever? Investigation files revealed that Frank possessed financial evidence powerful enough to destroy the empire Rick and Mike had built over more than a decade. If those documents were made public, not only would their reputations crumble, but an entire web of sponsors, business partners, and networks would collapse. Frank never got the chance to speak his truth. Greed and power struck first. On the evening of July 13th, 2022, in the quiet town of Franklin, Iowa, Frank was preparing for a meeting that could change everything. On the living room table, financial records, copied contracts, and incriminating emails were carefully organized in an old black briefcase. Frank, who once lived for the thrill of uncovering forgotten history, was now prepared to expose the darkest secrets of those who had once felt like family to him. According to traffic footage, around 8:02 p.m., a black SUV and an old Ford pickup, later confirmed to belong to Rick and Mike, quietly stopped about 50 meters from Frank's home. With headlights off and caps pulled low, the two men moved swiftly toward the front door. Despite interference, blurry images were captured by a security camera. There were no signs of forced entry, suggesting Frank may have opened the door himself, trusting them, unaware it would be their final meeting. From this point, the timeline fragments. Bits of physical evidence and a damaged voice recorder provide glimpses into the tragedy. The conversation began tense. Rick's voice cut through first, angry. "You think you can do this and get away with it?" Frank stood firm. "I just want the truth. I've put up with you guys long enough." Tensions rose rapidly. Mike, usually the peacemaker, was strangely quiet. Now and then he pleaded softly, "Please stop, Frank. We can work this out without causing a scene. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll continue uncovering the stories others try to keep buried." But Frank was resolute, refusing to back down. He was determined to expose everything. According to the recording, Frank stated clearly, "I've sent the documents out. If anything happens to me, everyone will know." That moment became a tragic turning point. A loud crash echoed, likely the sound of a body or furniture hitting the floor. Audio analysis suggests that Frank was pushed and struck his head against the edge of the coffee table. From that moment on, his chance of survival faded fast. But instead of calling for help, Rick and Mike panicked and chose silence. They dragged Frank into the corner of the room, cleaned the blood, erased all traces of struggle, and took the briefcase filled with incriminating evidence before vanishing into the night. One chilling detail remained from Frank's voice recorder. After he was knocked down, the device continued recording. In the silence, Rick's voice can be heard whispering, "No one can know about this. We can't turn back now." Around 9:15 p.m., both vehicles left quietly, in the exact same order they had arrived. A nearby witness recalled the roar of engines echoing through the night, as if someone was fleeing in panic. Frank Fritz died alone, in pain. The coroner's report confirmed the cause of death as severe brain trauma. Had he received immediate medical attention, his chances of survival would have exceeded 70%. But that chance was cruelly stolen from him. In the days that followed, Frank's home became a vault of unanswered questions. His phone went dead. His email locked. Calls from loved ones were met with silence. Only his sister acted quickly, requesting a welfare check after days of no contact. When police entered the house, they found signs of haste: unfinished dinner, a window left ajar, strange footprints in the foyer, but no sign of Frank or the briefcase containing vital documents. It took over 6 months of relentless investigation for the truth to come out. Under mounting guilt and evidence, Rick Harrison and Mike Wolf finally broke. At the May 24, 2024 hearing, Rick choked up as he confessed, "I pushed him." Mike, silent, admitted he did nothing to stop it. They let Frank die. That admission not only ended their careers, but confirmed Frank Fritz's death was not an accident, but the tragic result of greed, betrayal, and a mistake they could never undo. That fateful night not only altered the fate of 3 men, but shattered the trust of millions who once believed that honesty and real friendship could still exist on reality TV. The moment Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe admitted their roles in Frank's death, American media was consumed by shock. News spread like wildfire across newspapers, cable news, and social media. That morning, a 42-second video began circulating on Twitter. Rick Harrison, once known for his mischievous grin on TV, stood frozen in the courtroom, eyes locked on the floor. In a hoarse whisper, he uttered 4 chilling words. "I pushed him." Standing beside him, Mike Wolfe offered no denial. He simply nodded, silent tears streaming down his weary face. Within just 4 hours, the hashtag #NumberJusticeForFrank surged to the top of Twitter with over 18 million mentions. Trending terms like Mike Wolfe confession, Frank deserved better, and betraying TV stars swept across TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. It was clear. America was not just mourning Frank Fritz, it was mourning the end of an illusion. CNN, BBC, and several major international news outlets interrupted their regular programming to report breaking news. Faces once beloved by American audiences now appeared across the front pages of criminal reports. A quick Reuters poll showed that 78% of respondents were shocked and outraged, while only 7% believed Rick and Mike acted in a moment of weakness. The truth is out, and the secrets no one expected have shaken the world. The events surrounding Rick, Mike, and Frank's death have sparked more than a media firestorm. They've fundamentally altered how viewers see American pickers. What are your thoughts on these revelations? Do you think there's even more to uncover? Drop your comments below, share this video with friends, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates. The backlash quickly spread beyond social media. Within 48 hours, over a dozen major partners, from antique dealers to publishers, cut ties with Rick and Mike. Walmart immediately pulled all Pawn Stars merchandise from its shelves. History Channel released a firm statement. "We will sever all relationships with those involved and review our entire vetting process." Unsubscribes flooded Rick and Mike's personal accounts. The official Pawn Stars YouTube channel, once boasting over 2 million subscribers, lost nearly 600,000 in just 3 days. Amid the chaos, Frank Fritz's family refused to stay silent. They organized a small memorial in his hometown of Iowa, drawing thousands, many who had never met Frank, but felt the need to mourn and protest. People carried signs that read, "Frank was the last to preserve our faith." No one deserves betrayal like that. The memorial quickly evolved into a national movement. From it, the Honor Frank campaign was born, demanding higher ethical standards for reality TV stars. In just 1 week, over 350,000 people had signed the petition. A small group of fans tried to defend Rick and Mike, citing mental stress, financial pressure, or a moment of crisis. However, those arguments were quickly drowned out by overwhelming evidence and near-universal public outrage. Media experts joined the discussion. During a CNN panel, critic Lawrence Steele stated, "The Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe case isn't just a criminal trial. It reflects how easily society has trusted perfectly edited television images without questioning their authenticity." Social psychologists also weighed in. Dr. Samuel Gray of the University of Chicago said, "This outrage shows a deep sense of betrayal. when the people audiences trusted turn out to be manufactured characters built purely for profit. The scandal forced many content platforms to rethink their operations. Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu all announced they were reassessing their contract policies and background checks for reality programming. In response, several state legislators proposed new bills requiring minimum ethical standards for participants in reality television. For Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe, the legacy they once proudly built came crashing down. Antique fairs and cultural festivals swiftly removed their names from guest lists. Community events canceled their scheduled appearances in unison, and the fallout continued to grow. Even a history museum in Las Vegas dismantled the exhibition once sponsored by Rick, replacing it with a cold sign, "Permanently closed." Their greatest remaining legacy was no longer the treasures they once uncovered, but a cautionary tale of unchecked greed and betrayal. The court confession seemed like the end, but it was only the beginning. A sweeping investigation followed, uncovering a conspiracy years in the making, with Frank Fritz's death being only the tip of the iceberg. Initially, authorities focused solely on Frank's case, but the scope soon expanded to include financial crimes, fraud, and evidence fabrication. Investigators worked closely with forensic accountants to audit every financial transaction tied to Rick and Mike. What they found would change the narrative forever. Investigators discovered over $4.3 million had been funneled into offshore accounts in Bice and the Cayman Islands between 2015 and 2021, the peak years of Pawn Stars and American Pickers. Frank was never informed nor included in the profits of most transactions. Contracts he had originally signed were secretly altered, with several signatures later identified as forged through handwriting analysis. From Mike Wolfe's hard drive, digital experts retrieved a trove of internal emails between Rick, Mike, and their personal legal team. The messages not only discussed sidelining Frank from major deals, but explicitly mentioned removing any threat he might pose. One chilling email, dated June 12, 2022, just a month before Frank's death, read, "If Frank goes too far, we need to silence him permanently." Forensic teams re-examined Frank's home and uncovered signs of a rushed cleanup. Industrial cleaning agents, typically used in labs or clinics, were found on various surfaces. Laser scans of the wooden floor near the coffee table revealed poorly wiped bloodstains, hastily cleaned but still detectable. Most damning was Frank's handheld voice recorder. Despite exterior damage, its memory chip remained intact and recoverable. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll continue uncovering the stories others try to keep buried. After hours of data recovery, audio experts successfully extracted 17 minutes of continuous recording, capturing the argument, the struggle, and the fateful confession. The most chilling part came when Rick's unmistakable voice declared, "No one will find you, Frank. We'll destroy you." That statement became a turning point for prosecutors, shifting the case from reckless violence to premeditated intent. A surprise witness, a former delivery driver for Mike Wolfe's antique distribution company, testified that on the night Frank went missing, he was told to transport an urgent shipment from Iowa to a Kansas City warehouse without inspection. Though the contents were never confirmed, his testimony supported suspicions that Rick and Mike attempted to destroy or hide the documents Frank had collected. GPS analysis later confirmed that Mike's pickup truck was at that warehouse in the early hours of July 14th, just hours after Frank's disappearance was reported. As the puzzle pieces came together, a horrifying truth emerged. Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe had not only betrayed a friendship built over decades, but deliberately conspired to erase Frank, forever protecting a financial empire built on reputation and public trust. The investigation uncovered deeper corruption within the reality TV industry. Several senior executives at the History Channel were suspected of turning a blind eye to suspicious activity as long as the profits continued. One senior producer was even accused of receiving secret payments from Rick to maintain a positive public image. Social media lit up with calls for a full industry reform. A poll revealed that 82% of Americans believed reality television had tolerated unethical behavior for far too long. But what haunted viewers most was that Frank Fritz, a man who cherished simplicity and small-town stories, was pushed to his death by those he trusted, simply for standing up for justice. Frank's death became more than a personal loss. It became a chilling symbol of the deadly price of greed and betrayal. The fall of Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe didn't just end two careers, it shook the foundation of American reality TV. Viewership for Pawn Stars and American Pickers dropped by 18% to 27% in just 3 months. According to Nielsen, experts agreed this wasn't a fleeting reaction, but a collective awakening. Viewers were no longer willing to sacrifice ethics for scripted entertainment masked as authenticity. Major sponsors who once supported Pawn Stars and American Pickers quickly cut all ties. Multi-million-dollar ad deals were canceled within days. Target pulled all Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe products, stating, "We uphold integrity and respect for individuals." Antique fairs removed Mike's posters, and secondhand stores quietly rebranded to distance themselves. A quiet but widespread boycott spread among fans. Memorabilia once treasured now gathered dust at yard sales, sold for pennies or thrown away as painful reminders of betrayal. Yet amid the anger, tributes to Frank Fritz began to bloom. Across the U.S., small antique shops hosted events in his honor, donating proceeds to nonprofits supporting victims of financial exploitation. In Davenport, Iowa, a mural appeared bearing the words, "Frank Fritz, the keeper of forgotten stories." A scholarship in his name was also created at the University of Iowa for students studying history and folk culture. His family declared, "Frank may have been betrayed, but his memory will never be buried." As for Rick and Mike, they lost not just careers and wealth, but the public's trust. No apology could repair the damage. Their legacy is no longer one of lighthearted deals and discoveries, but a cautionary tale etched in betrayal. When fame is built on greed and deception, it can collapse faster than any antique they ever appraised. Frank Fritz, a humble man who simply wanted to preserve forgotten stories, has now become a symbol of broken trust, and a lasting reminder that in a world blinded by wealth and fame, honesty remains the most priceless treasure. The story of Rick Harrison and Mike Wolfe is more than a personal downfall. It exposes what happens when ambition and loyalty collide in a morally hollow industry. Frank didn't die because of a fight. He died because greed overtook friendship, silence replaced responsibility, and reputation mattered more than truth. No campaign could undo what was done. His death was not an accident. It was the calculated result of repeated betrayal. And in the stillness after the headlines fade, one haunting question remains. Was this a tragic mistake or a conspiracy years in the making? Perhaps the truth died with Frank Fritz. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll continue uncovering the stories others try to keep buried.